You so much, Pablo. I still had my microphone hooked up to the wrong cable because I was recording this morning. I'm so glad you said something before we went more than 4 minutes with me speaking into the void. Ugh. Okay, appreciate y'all. Hi to everyone. I did say hello to all of you as you came in. I'm doing fine. I also mused aloud as I was scrolling through my roster that none of you could see. Excuse me. And unfortunately, I'm a little concerned I may not have a great answer for this Yondu without having to do something weird. Like Venom the Duck was the first one that came to mind, but there's no way to avoid the bleed. Baker. And so that'll be reflected on us. Storm X would be fine spamming special ones. It's just class disadvantage and it would take forever. Nimrod kind of wants to parry. Mr. Sinister could be fine, but I feel like it's better to save him for something else. It is the first fight. I just don't have a lot of characters. Hmm. Maw? Well, I have several versions of Maw, so that's not the worst option. Notice the Ascended 5-star, and there's a 6-star down here somewhere. I'll pencil in Maw for now. Where am I typing? Okay. Alright, Black Widow can be literally anyone, but for me it's probably going to be Toad because I have a rather large Toad. Yep, we'll just deal. Okay. Toad. Hey, Cesar. Looking at your roster thinking this is going to be good. How rude. Let's see. Clairvoyant with Footloose and Prey on the Weak is definitely a bit rough. I do have Titania if we're willing to burn her here. I also have Overseer, who ramps quickly against her, but would have trouble with Footloose. Hi, Harry. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm not particularly happy with you right now. Um, I'm not going to start something. Let's see. Hey, Gurge. Yeah, I think it's not the time for that, Gundu, is all I'll say. Okay, we do have Titania, but I'm I think the important thing here is to not agonize and then come back and change things if I need to. So for now, I'm gonna write in this Overseer. I saw you the first time, R7. Um, look a bit stressed, Gundu? Creeping me out a bit there. Thank you so much, Omega, for being a member. Thanks for the well wishes. I'm okay. Okay, Chitinous Thorns for Venom. I'm sure we have options for that. We could just go Mangog. Yeah. I need to just write these down and see where we are. I don't think I can agonize too much as we go. My blinds are actually closed, John, which makes it scarier. It's okay, Gundam. Just giving you crud. Okay, Green Goblin. I don't think I even have a way. I mean, I could use a 6-star unranked Gambit and be here for like 20 minutes. God. Um, like it's basically this or just block really well or like no debuffs, right? Yeah. Hey, Galaxy. Okay. Let's put this on hold and go ahead and check out the deep dive. Sorry. I have the wrong speaker hooked up, and you got a little bit of Arcade's Murder World there for a minute. Okay. Let's see how this volume is. All right, I guess first I need to turn it on, don't I? Okay.
Is going on, Summoners? We're back here today with another Champion Deep Dive. Today, we're talking about Count Nefaria. So, sit back and relax, because it's time to get into it. Count Nefaria enters the contest full of ionic energy, granting him full immunity to Power Steal and Bleed effects. He also has 90% shock and incinerate resistance. When Count Nefaria would perform a well-timed block against a basic attack, he has a 100% chance to evade the hit. This also happens when blocking the final hit of a special with a well-timed block. This evade has a cooldown of 11 seconds. But this cooldown is ignored when evading special attacks. When evading, Count Nefaria counterattacks, dealing a burst of energy.
I'm sorry, I have to pause here to make fun of Mike. What a show off. Oh, I know. Let's parry the last hit of a special. Let's try Apocalypse. Oh, so the special 2, right? So you just parry the kick at the end? No. The special 1. What a diva. Alright, let's move on.
Damage, and inflicting 2 energy buildup debuffs. If the opponent's special is punished after evading it, he inflicts an energy vulnerability debuff for 18 seconds. Now, whenever his opponent fills a bar of power, they gain 15 stored energy. Also, for every 1% of the opponent's max health or power they would gain from a buff or passive, they gain 2 energy. This happens even if the opponent's regen or ability power rates are reduced. And when the opponent reaches 10 stored energy, it's automatically converted into an indefinite energy buildup debuff. Additionally, he gains 10 ionic charges when performing a well-timed block, but he loses 20 when he would be inflicted with a bleed effect by a non-mystic champion. Ionic charges grant a scaling attack bonus, maxing out at 100 charges. They also grant scaling physical, energy, and degen resistance.
This is the point I was going to make right here. My mic is a little bit low today, isn't it? Okay, turning it even further. But this is the point I was going to make right here in response to the stat focus comment, John, is that Nefaria already has huge resistances if you're playing him properly, and what you get from stat focus will probably just run into diminishing returns and not really do anything. If you're trying to make him tankier, you would maybe go block proficiency, but I don't even really think that that's worth it. For stat focus, I would just go crit on this guy. He has giant furies. He doesn't have guaranteed crits. Yellow numbers.
Maxing out at 100 charges. And upon reaching 100 ionic charges, he activates Ionic Overcharge for 17 seconds. While overcharged, all of his attacks are non-contact and deal energy damage instead of physical. Additionally, the opponent's regen and ability power rate are reduced by 95%, and he gains 60% of the power denied in this way.
Hey, Vega.
Ionic Overcharge is paused during his special attacks, and he loses 100 once it expires. Now, let's check out his special attacks. On the final 4 hits of his special 1, he devours 2 energy buildups. And for each one devoured, he gains 16 ionic charges, 2% of his missing health, and 9% of a bar of power. With the special 2, on activation, he gains a Fury passive for every 10 ionic charges. These last for 16 seconds and max out at 15 stacks. The final hit inflicts an Incinerate debuff for 6 seconds, but against Mystic champions, he inflicts a Plasma instead. Now,
so I'm seeing a couple questions here. I mean, a little bit like Captain Marvel's binary. Like, it's kind of like any other super mode, right? There are most other super modes, you get the charges and then the charges tick down and that's your duration. This is a little bit different. It's kind of closer to like Maestro's Superior Rage, where you go into it and then it has, I guess Maestro even ticks down the rage. Yeah, because he has a variable duration. It's not coming to me off the top of my head, but Nefaria is a little bit different, where you go into the mode has its own duration, and the currency that you use to get there is separate from the mode. It can keep going up and then is deducted at the end. And that has a pretty important implication for his playstyle, because it means that you can stay above 100 even as that 100 is deducted, and you can theoretically stay in the mode forever. Plasma's a big deal because Kindred and Mephisto, those are the main defenders, but there are other mystics that are Incinerate immune. Nobody's Plasma immune. It's basically the same idea as techs that are getting around mutant resistance with plasmas. Wiccan also has plasmas for the same reason.
the first hit of any special attack deals a burst of energy damage if it's the first or second hit after his counter attack. The Special 3.
I love it.
At the end of this attack, he gains 50 Ionic charges and triggers Ionic Overcharge. He also pauses it for 10 seconds. Now, let's check out his signature ability. When awakened, during Ionic Overcharge, he passively regenerates 80% of the health denied to the opponent due to any reduced regen rate. Also, when the opponent gains 20% of a bar of power from a passive or buff within 0.5 seconds, he instantly gains 50 Ionic charges and triggers Ionic Overcharge. This also triggers when they gain 8% of their max health within 0.5 seconds for any reason. Now, let's get nefarious in the champion rotation. To begin, perform a well-timed block to evade and start inflicting your energy buildups. Then, parry to gain Ionic charges. While on cooldown, you can still evade the final hit of special attacks, and doing so inflicts your energy vulnerability. From here, launch your Special 1 to devour those energy buildups and enter Ionic Overcharge. Continue evading and punishing the opponent's specials, and then launch your Special 2 to activate your Fury and unlock those big yellow numbers. If the opponent isn't already knocked out, just keep cycling your Special 1 and Special 2 to keep Ionic Overcharge active and keeping those Furies topped up. Now, if you're up against an opponent with passive power gain, triggering Ionic Overcharge will reduce the power by 95%, and grant Nefaria 60% of the power denied in this way. And yes, this includes Mystic Dispersion, and that all makes it a lot easier to launch those giant special 2s and keep those nasty Mystic Defenders at bay. And hey, that 95% reduction also triggers against regen, and with a Despair Mastery, that regen reversal can get pretty potent. Also, his Awakened ability allows him to regen up to 80% of the healing denied to the opponent, keeping that health bar as big and yellow as his numbers.
So silly. No, he has no relation to Strange, other than the fact that he's just an old villain.
Thank you for watching this Champion Deep Dive!
Yeah, he interacts extremely well with the tactic. And yeah, I did know it was coming, Aiden. I've already had variations of this conversation a few different times. He's solid for Serpent. I don't want to overhype it, right? Like, there's a number of different things here. He handles Serpent's healing, so you have that. He mitigates the power gain, right? Because you can get up to... Calm down, Aiden. It's not better than the Mole Man one that already exists. Because you can only reduce Serpent's ability power rate to 50% because he's not Mystic, right? So you're going to be gaining less power because you're denying less power, you're slowing down Serpent less. The thing is that does mean your Sig can trigger more often, because if Serpent gains more power more often, then you're not shutting it down entirely, then you might theoretically get the extra charges. But I don't actually think Serpent's power gain is fast enough to trigger that, except maybe after the special 2 or something, when you're in the danger zone, right? The biggest part of the matchup, though, is that you can't do the counter evade to specials. Because it's an evade, right? And so True Focus just turns it off. And that means that the Serpent matchup is going to be much, much slower. Yes, the regen he gets applies to the opponent's willpower healing. Willpower does not trigger the automatic charge gain or any of that, but it does allow him to steal it. Hey, Roy. I really would be surprised if he's much of a dual threat. Like, he has immunities, there's some abilities that come online, but he's basically just annoying special evades. Dre, you're either being sarcastic to me or you're trying to trigger other people. Neither is cool. All right, I'm open to more Nefaria questions, but let's get back to the Crucible planning. We don't have a 5 out of 5 attacker stat, Harry. It's not actually something that, like, people like to say that, but there is no attack stat. There's damage, there's utility, there's survivability, there's no offense. That doesn't really mean anything, but if you mean 5 out of 5 damage, no, he's not 5 out of 5 damage. Nefaria is definitely more of an attacker. Probably could have been made a scary defender, but we didn't do that. Hey, Gaurav. Excuse me. But appreciate you. I don't think so, Mr. V, for a couple reasons. The main thing is that I think it's based on his 95% and not what you get from Despair. But more important is just the fact that, like Serpent, it has that cap on how much you can steal per tick. Hey, Amon. Havoc doesn't have energy buildup debuffs. Havoc has plasma buildup debuffs. And yes, I realize that's similar, but just whatever. English is limited. Whoops, not that. Minimize that and move this because I'm losing some of the chat. Does this do weird things? It does do weird things. Okay, we're leaving that over here and just moving it to a different part of the screen. Nefaria is science because his powers are the result of a science experiment and not his mastery of the mystic arts. That's kind of the whole thing there. Is he someone you see yourself considering a ban for with tactic? Yeah. Don't see anything specific he counters. Kindred and Mephisto are like the most obvious in-class ones, but in general, he's good against power gain and regen. The evade on specials, how easy is it to get used to? It definitely has a bit of a learning curve, but it's not that bad. It's kind of interesting because it's similar to like it's similar to parrying specials in general. It just has to be the last hit. It does have a built-in kind of allowance for things like Cyclops's closely concentrated hits, so it works better than you might think, but I don't know, scale of 1 to 10, I'll say that it's probably like as an obstacle, meaning a higher number would be worse, I'll call it like a 4. Hey, Babby. Yeah, no, I get it, Indigo. Okay, who do I want to use for this green goblin? I really don't have any power drain immunes ranked on this account, do I? Maybe I do want to actually invest in Gallon. I honestly don't know, Kurd. I'm not part of that team, but I do think that we generally try not to do too many duplicates of the same characters. But what about Spider-Man? Okay, that's in the past. We're trying to be a bit more careful going forward. Yeah, I'm sure 2099 would be great. I don't think that's an option for me. I do have Guillotine here, but she is a 4-star. God. Hey, Akbar. Do I dare use a 4-star? She'll also trigger a lot of Furies with her degen, so I don't think that's wise. This one's gonna be tough. Yes, Akbar. Think we should probably just cheese it and go more. Wait, why am I thinking no debuffs? This is literally just redlining and power reserve. Okay, hold on. I'm doing this the wrong way. I think I'm just going to use Venom the Duck because he's a big cosmic. For some reason, I was thinking this was the unlimited power one. Okay, Tantrum. We need Disorient, Concussion, Enervate, or Taunt. So Titania could do this. I already put down Overseer. We could flip that around. I have to have some Disorient somewhere, right? Ronin. If we do special one only, that should work, right? Yeah, let's do that. I might want to rank him up, but let's come back to that. OG Spider-Man makes a ton of sense, but I don't think I have one at a realistic level. This account's struggling a bit, guys. We're gonna figure something out. Okay, then we have just Buffet Red Hulk. So somebody like Blade is fine. Moondragon is fine. How many champs overall are there? That's a good chunk. Maybe I should be doing normal, but I want to try this. Oh, I don't even have a cake to save, I don't think. Hey, Madrox. Mm. I think I'm gonna throw down Zemo. Like, I'm gonna try and level him, and the combat power rate's gonna be tough, but purely from a like purely from a he counters this with despair. That'll work. I mean, it depends on where your account is, Alan. I didn't prepare at all on my main. Because my roster's deep enough, I was like, I'm not going to run out of 6-star rank 5s. I'm not going to run out of 7 stars. I can just go. This account, it's very different. Okay. The only shock immune I have at any real rarity is Storm, and that sounds miserable, so I'm going to throw down Arcus here and rely on the armor breaks. How many of my kids are on this account? Very, very few. Okay, do I have anyone who works for Arcus. I could swap Mangog in here, but I kind of needed him earlier. Sasquatch. Okay. That's going to be a tough fight, so I'm going to mark that as a possibility to level. We'll see. Yeah, I have none of the Deathless on this account. Definitely no Absorbing Man to cheese this. Purgatory's probably the way to go for Hela. Okay. I used Overseer for... Do I need Titania down here? For that Magneto, maybe? I think I have other ways to put debuffs. Although Spite's the problem, isn't it? Titania's just so good. Unfortunate. I'm really running into some roster problems here. No Doom. I think I-Bomb or Scorpion could do that. Let's throw down I-Bomb. I mean, what I've got here is basically what I got, Aiden. It's not a lot. I appreciate the offer, though. I guess we have a Nimrod, so let's do that. Electro Luke is going to be Crossbones. This is probably just Sunspot, because otherwise it can get annoying. This can be Scorpion. Also needs to be leveled some amount. This can be Human Torch. I think I have a Warlock left for this. Ooh, this might be a problem. Like, maybe Gore could keep the shocks up, but woof. I guess I do have that Mysterio. I'll just be here for 7 years. But I've done it before. It's easy. 3-star Ronin. Just so you get an idea of how dire this is. My 3-star Ronin isn't duped. I think we can probably use Domino for this mole man. Run. Real quick. Yeah. Okay, I haven't used Titania yet. I don't know that we need that. She is my only buff immune, right? It's that or try and deal with Spite. This might be where I use Void. To try and save Titania. I have a 3-star gem and some Sig Stones, maybe. Enough to actually allow me to stun lock? I don't know about that. I've got to have somebody for MODOK, right? Right? Shang-Chi is probably my best bet there. Gotta use a gore here. I think this is probably where I'll finally use Titania. Or not, because I think we probably need it for the... Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and write that in for the man thing. I have very few options there. Unironically might rank up Luke here. It's possible this just isn't something that this account can do, but we're going to figure it out. Venom the Duck can just be anybody who will crit. That's pretty simple, at least. That one I can take my time with. Storm, maybe. Emma. I'm going to pencil in Storm. I remember this Hitmonkey being a real problem for my other account because I didn't really respect it, but we do have a Strife. This is where I'm going to use my 4-star Guillotine, and I'll just deal with it. It's not going to be fun. I am planning Legendary Akbar. Nova can be anyone. Okay, I see the end of the tunnel. Because I didn't use Blade earlier, right? Where's Red Hulk? Zemo. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna level up Zemo. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be awesome, but I'm gonna try Penny there. I think I'm gonna use my other gore here. I have two, it's okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna put Void here, and let's go find the other one, because then this can be Titania. Wait, where did I put her? Ah, there. Yeah, I do need that one. Okay. I'm just running into the end of my science class here. Like, we can try and also level Sandman. I could turn off Dex for Magneto and use Invisible Woman. And then Nova. I've already used, yeah, I've used Storm, so Nova is with just my biggest remaining character, basically. So, I don't know, Venom. I know he gets the True Strike at the end, so is it worth using somebody else here? Woof. Suggesting Onslaught for Hitmonkey. Shark, I don't think you know what we're doing here. This is my alt account. Uh... she can if she doesn't have the Dexterity Mastery, Obed, and yes, it's a weird interaction. Alright. I guess rather than Venom, I can use the other Maw here, because I do have two. On that note, let's use the smaller one first. Wish me luck. Hey, Aiden, pulled a 7-star Ironheart. Very nice. Congrats. Oh, I do need to level a few things. I should probably do that before I head in. Okay. So I think the biggest one was Zemo. Where is he? There he is. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna leave him there for now because I have limited resources. Let's take a look at the science champions. Luke is important. Hey, Em. Yeah, Nefaria is a blast. You know, maybe I should have used the gem there, because I think that blocks us out of a rank 3, but that's okay. Alright, we're out of gold. That was actually quite nice. Got a lot of free crystals. Science, maybe? I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. I guess we might as well open these while we're here. That's another 6-star. Don't need to worry about that right now. That Hulkling is honestly real nice, but I don't know that we have the money to do anything about it right now. Okay. I'm out of glory, aren't I? Yep. Um, don't really have much of anything here except battlegrounds. Yay. Okay. I think I'm. Let's see. We had Zemo, Ronan. We're basically out. Sasquatch, we're gonna leave. Eyebomb, we're gonna leave. Scorpion, we're gonna leave. All right. Let's see what we can do. I've got the items. We can't see except the spreadsheet. Oh, I know, I know. But I should have caught that earlier. My bad. Whew. Minimizing the spreadsheet for now. And turning the game back on. I'd give you golden ISO for level ups if I could. I appreciate it. I could just take them from my main account if I could. Alright, let's see how this goes. All I did was Zemo and Luke up a little bit. Cool. Now we just need to do that 5 or 6 more times. Don't think it was worth trying to go for another intercept because we would have lost the falter, but we got the Fury up the first 3, and I'll take that. That is my boy. All right. Not a bad start. Nefaria is just a better leader. No, there are definitely things leader does better. And things leader does more automatically. Thanks, Frequency. I'll be pushing his normal darkness. I will, during that season, also try to push a little bit on this account, which will obviously be a little bit easier as far as people beating me. Hey, Walrus. Thanks, Jason. We shall see as we go. I'm still in my comfort zones thus far. Would much rather run into you on this account. Yeah, I'm sure you would. All right. Luke's design was set in stone before Serpent, or not set in stone, but like I did the work on Luke's buff before Serpent was even on the roadmap. It shipped at the same time, but like no, they were not aligned in that way. It was clocked that he was an okay soft counter when we were balancing Serpent, but it wasn't a big deal. I do have to say, point blank, since you're here, Harry, I did not intervene to protect Serpent. And I think it was in really poor taste of you to loudly and confidently declare something that you have no way of knowing, and that's impugning on somebody else's character. Not cool, dude. Okay, already got rid of the unstoppable ones. That's great. Special concussion is so good. I'm not gonna lie, that unblockable almost got me. Try and get to a special 3 here for the vulnerability. Ouch! Okay. Let's maybe talk a little bit less, shall we, deal with? Why was she not gaining more power there? I was being immune to nullify, so I'm not entirely sure what was going on. Oh, that? No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why this fight isn't going worse. This is a weird thing to admit. Throw it. Okay, definitely waiting out the unstoppable. That one is more annoying. I'll catch up on the chat in a minute. Oh, thank you, Aiden. Wait, no, that still doesn't explain it. Oh, no, wait, sorry. It explains the power gain, not the immunity triggers. Yes, okay. Whew. This is embarrassing as a former Claire main. It's been too long. I appreciate the admission, Harry. But to touch on it directly, with Serpent, as with all of my champions, I had a list of changes, like, ranked in order, that if Balance said, hey, we need to make changes, I would have said, this is what I would prefer we try first. I always do that. We can kind of touch on that a little bit if y'all want. I know there's been a lot of discourse about it, and so I'm not going to push into it. But, like, as a general note, designers normally aren't part of... I won't say we're not part of that conversation. We're not part of the, hey, the thumbs up, thumbs down part. Once a call has been made on whether changes are needed, then we're brought in, right? Because it's our vision, we can help kind of get it there. But not really before that. Yeah. The one change I wanted to make to Serpent, which, if things were less charged around him, we might have been able to do, was I wanted to give him a pre-fight that let you turn off the death immunity so he worked better in Everest content, but that just... that would not have been wise with everything else. Hey, Steven. Weekend's going okay. Is Claire still off the table? I don't know how official the table is at any one moment. I don't think the Balance team or my team on character design is particularly excited about her as a 7-star soon, simply because buff immunity is still so absolute. That's a really complicated question that gets into some internal territory really soon. She's definitely not a forever, but she actively makes it harder for us to explore nuances in the relationship between the mystic and cosmic class, is I think the way I would put it. It's not like an overpowered in a no, this just cannot exist way. It's a she ate too much design space too quickly, and so we need time to catch up before she exists at this rarity again, if that makes sense. I've seen people before say, I don't understand how Claire was too strong, but, like, Juggernaut exists. Juggernaut was a mistake, but pick whoever your favorite strong 7-star was. It's not a raw strength competition. It's a design space thing, and that's a little bit tricky to articulate. That's more of an internal thing. I totally understand that point, Easy. It's really, really weird for us to say, like, for a kit like Serpent that has no internal modification, that this can't go up, right? Um, Sorry, just texting real quick. Trying to deal with. I may be talking for a bit later while I'm eating. But that's just, like, that's a really weird design call. we could say, sure, that it can't be modified by nodes, but that would also mean it couldn't go down. And that's probably going to hurt you more than it helps you. Similarly, we could have said that the duration just couldn't be modified, but like that wasn't our goal. We were intentionally trying to leave Kindred and Mojo and future characters with atrophy, like Enchantress, open. Or like Shothar for that reason, right? Like, the reason death immunity is a buff, because there were earlier versions of it that were passive, was specifically to leave those interactions open, which will usually benefit players. It's just that Extend was obviously a nightmare. uh, I banned a lot of serpents myself last season. I'm not going to pretend it didn't stink. At this point, no, Aiden, I wouldn't change the way the burst works because that's the way it has worked. But I have told Aiden before, like, the reason that Serpent's anti-instant damage hits direct bursts as well as physical and energy is because of a coding limitation. That's all we're able to do at the moment. I understand that, John, the activation versus hit thing. I just think it would have made him completely trivial. There would have been no threat whatsoever in the Tigra fight. Hood would have walked all over him. Like, there are so many things that if Serpent had to actually hit you to apply true focus, he would have been like, I don't know, a 4, a 3.5. Like, that's part of the problem, honestly, is that a lot of the quote small a lot of the small modifications that people have suggested aren't as small as they might think. 1 second. I also want to, before it goes away, the spot comment, when I'm talking about buff immunity messing with design space like that, I'm specifically talking about offensive buff immunity, making your opponent immune to buffs, not yourself. Very different. Okay, I know this has chitinous thorns, but before I get too into it, there's... Okay, foresight. That's it. Alright. Do you mind? Thank you. Whoops, I actually meant that to be a special one. That's okay. Come on, buddy. Throw it. We got this all lined up. Excel problems. Whoa. Hey, Yodi, how's it going? Sig transfer tokens is funny. Okay. No, this will not get me Valiant on Seraphin. I won't even be able to use the rank 3 gem. Assuming that I finish this. Guessing Aiden probably answered the Evers question. I don't. I mean, for some of them, Nykel, it'd be pretty simple, right? Like Kushala. If we had to tune down Kushala, it probably just literally would have been less damage. With Absorbing Man, it was on my radar in case we wanted to do it, to cut the charges gained from armor break immunity from 90 to like 60 or 45 or 30 or something. There's a bunch of numbers we could have done there. In hindsight, maybe we should have, but obviously we didn't. Like, there are other things we could have changed, but those are like the biggest things that I think would have been safest to adjust. Let's see. With Kate, at the time, obviously it was the tuning of the cold snaps. I forget what I was thinking then, but now I've been on the record for a while as saying that if we eventually tune Kate down outside of rebalancing, I think the changes I would make is instead of true accuracy, she'd have pursuit because she doesn't need to answer auto block. It's very helpful. It's not really class appropriate. And I would cut her base critical damage rating pretty significantly because that would cut the cold snaps. But because of the way diminishing returns works, the fragilities would get them back close to their ceiling. And I think that would probably be a more appropriate balance. She would be much, much worse in Battlegrounds, but So, Kurt, I do have to touch on that because I've seen this come from a lot of smart people. I'm not saying that it's definitely wrong, but I personally am not very persuaded by the idea that a small, mostly cosmetic change would have helped much with the emotion, right? Because a lot of what I saw when Bullseye was changed, and remember, like Vega said, Bullseye was changed not because he was too hard. The data was mostly stabilizing. Bullseye was changed because the data showed that it was almost impossible to play around him, even with intended counters, because he just, like, as you were trying to deal with his threat, he punished you, right? I don't think that's really accurate with Serpent, but what I started to say there, and I got sidetracked, was that when Bullseye was changed, we saw a lot of people say, oh, well, if Bullseye got hit with this, then Serpent's going to get nerfed into the ground. And so I think the kind of small change that people say would have helped probably just would have led to people going, how is this it? He's so much worse. And that's not really helpful, right? Especially if our data says that he didn't need to be changed. I mean, you just got your answer to that, Harry. The attackers are very different, and I don't just mean this because, like, it's not just a player beneficial thing, right? Defenders are player beneficial in a lot of ways. It's really tempting to not think of it that way when you're losing a fight. but it's player beneficial to have defensive options in your Battlegrounds deck. It's player beneficial to have a Cosmic that slows down Tigra enough that you have a chance without banning her. It's player beneficial to have somebody who slows down Archangel, right? Like, defenders aren't player punishment. But with the way the game works, it is much, much more difficult to design around and therefore to move the game forward around overpowered attackers than it is around overpowered defenders. If overpowered, I mean, I'm using this in quotes because I'm not really conceding that ground, but let's say for the sake of discussion that Serpent is as strong on defense as any of these really strong attackers people are talking about. All that's really necessary to change that is like a half dozen good counters, right? Like that might almost be too much. Look what happened to Penny. For attackers, we talked about this with Hercules, but it applies to somebody like Juggernaut too. We could spend an entire year doing nothing but releasing characters that are aimed at stopping Juggernaut, and it would barely dent the fights he's able to take. Because you would just not use Juggernaut for those 10% of the fights in the game, and you would keep using him on all the other stuff. Like, it's shifting the meta around defenders is easy. Shifting the meta around attackers is very, very difficult. And hey, Odin. Thanks, Gwen. I appreciate it. Hey, amigo. Oh, no worries, Pablo. I'm trying to read back. Gotcha, Harry. Yeah, no, damage is just intended to be damage. You can be a very good attacker without a good damage rating, just not in Battlegrounds. Oh, and thanks for being a member, Odie. Shout out that. Yeah, that's a few to give away. Yeah, good lord. God knows I'd redistribute some of mine. Why Serpent doesn't have anything to do with poison? It's a fair question. I don't know. It felt more important to touch on bleed than poison. Like, I could have just made him poison immune and gone, cuz Serpent. Haha. But, like, I honestly thought the bleed interaction was more interesting in Cosmic. I feel like it has shaken out that way, both on offense and defense. And I also didn't want to get too literal with the snake theming because I mean, he's like, the serpent that Thor is prophesied to kill, but he's serpent in like a sea serpent way, in a dragon way, right? Not in like a snake way, not in a viper way. And so I don't personally really associate him with poison. Um, I associate him more with like regeneration, almost like a Hydra, right? Or just with the insidious creeping nature of the god of fear. That's more what I personally was inspired by than like a cobra. If we ever get another Wolverine, can I design him? We'll see, Kurd. I will absolutely be calling dibs on Honey Badger if she's ever added. Thanks so much, Darkness. I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all being a member. Do I think CGR is overtuned in Battlegrounds? I think CGR is overtuned in general. I don't think it's really specific to Battlegrounds. I think Battlegrounds is just the latest place that it shines. Like, if you've ever seen him with powerbacks in War, or powerbacks in Quests, or powerbacks in Abyss, CGR is pretty nuts. I think it's fair that his numbers are just a little bit too generous, but yeah, well. Yeah, Kurt, I'm glad that was interesting. 6-star magic would probably be mediocre for Serpent because Serpent's immune to power lock. The power steal and granting no power is very good, which just again underlines how cracked magic is, but I don't I don't know. I do think magic just needs a change, honestly. Maybe the game eventually progresses enough that we're okay with her, but I think she probably just has too many overlapping abilities. CGR is the bane of my deck's existence. Yeah, I have a rank 3 Killmonger. I ban CGR pretty religiously. And that's not because I think that, like, I don't think the armor break interaction that hits Killmonger so hard, I don't think that part's overpowered. It's just I have this giant rank 3 defender that I bring around specifically to slow people down. CGR counters him, so I ban CGR. Like, even if I didn't think CGR was overtuned, I would probably still ban CGR, just to add some more nuance there. Yeah, exactly, Harry. Like, we could release nothing but a full year of Cold Snap immune characters. It doesn't slow down Kate enough. The damage actually has to come down. How far is my alt from Valiant? Very. Dre, let's please keep it respectful. We're talking about a lot of things here. I don't really want to have that conversation. How do designers feel about Battlegrounds being the preeminent game mode that champions are judged against? I do think it's a very good point, right? Because, yeah, he is worse in Battlegrounds. He is definitely worse in Battlegrounds. And bluntly, yeah, it's very annoying to have that be all that things are judged around. Um, like, we're not ignoring it. We're not, despite what some of y'all may think, we're not burying our heads in our sands and ignoring the game mode. But I've said this before. I think that Battlegrounds itself also needs to change because part of the reason somebody like Serpent or Maestro or Onslaught or Bullseye, part of the reason those big defenders feel so dangerous in Battlegrounds is that it's so easy to not get your counters. It is so easy to build your deck correctly and lose anyway. And at that point, that's not a champion design problem anymore. That's not a balanced design problem anymore. That's a battlegrounds design problem. And I think honestly that is where we are at the moment. I think Battlegrounds itself has to give you a little bit more reliability, a little bit more control over RNG, and then things will feel a little bit better. Yeah. Korg definitely was not a potato on release, Dre. That is incredibly revisionist. Yeah, there's a decent... I mean, because the thing is, like, what... Magic was literally a bug fix, right? And obviously I wasn't at Kabam. Things were different. A whole bunch of different people were there. I wish, in hindsight, despite being one of the people that complained about that bug fix to Magic, her power stealing when the opponent was at 0, I wish Kabam had stuck to their guns. I wish they had told me, no, you're being unreasonable. She's strong enough. This is not how it was intended to work. This was never how it was intended to work. We're changing this. Because I think she still would have been fine. She just would have been less broken. And I don't know if that would have been enough to get us a 6-star Magic, but I think there's a much, much better chance that we would have. Like, she might still be too strong from a design perspective. She still definitely wouldn't be a 7-star yet. But I think there's a good chance that she'd be a 6-star if that bug fix had gone through. Yeah, Pablo, I saw that out of the corner of my eye. You're allowed to have that opinion, Harry. You're definitely allowed to feel like he's too much. Take care, Steven. I appreciate it. I'm gonna focus for a moment, because if I don't, I am definitely going to die to a special 2. Even if I do focus, but we'll see. Hey, where'd my toxic armor go? Did I fail both rolls that time? Maybe it did. Oh, I did actually trigger. The siphon is not doing enough. I think I just need to stick to the special 2 because winning the damage race is more important here than winning the health race. I know they're related to that. Very good time to beat him. Thank you. Alright, give me a sec. I'm gonna mute. Be right back. Okay. Hey, MSD, how's it going? I've been very public that I think Kate is over too, noob. Serpent's definitely on the line, but he was intended to be on the line. And as I talked about earlier, you can scrub back a little bit if you want to hear. I don't think that attackers and defenders are remotely related in that kind of conversation. Should you congratulate me? This Venom the Duck was my second and third 7-star pulls MSD. I was so tilted. But hi, how's it going, man? Game sound louder than me? Okay, I can tune it down a little bit. I've been asked to put it up before. Exodus, yes. Which attackers surprised me the most encountering Serpent? The people who know how to use Sunspot against him, that definitely stuck out a bit. Whoops, sorry. I don't know why I said sorry to you. I accidentally minimized my own tab. All right, Dre. I'm not gonna call any specific thing you said outrage. I'm not gonna, like, we don't have to call names, but, like, I don't think you're being productive. Um, let's give it a rest for a little bit. Let's see. Catching up. Yeah, Kingpin is definitely an interesting one. That's cool too. Yeah, the Kabam tag is as of yesterday. I didn't go for it for a while because I didn't want to necessarily call attention to this account, but with the Battlegrounds thing coming up and like the achievement hunting of beating Kabam devs, um I figured it would Kabam tag on this one. I'm gonna This is a good time for me to pat myself on the back because I've only played 2 Battlegrounds matches this season and I lost one of them. So this is coming from a place of relative humility. I generally don't lose that much in Battlegrounds, and it's not because I'm like some godly player or anything like that. it's because I don't play that much. And so I tend to climb later than most people with my roster and skill sets. I tend to not go high enough in battlegrounds to really run into the people who like same thing. And so that just means that I generally don't lose that much. And that feels against the spirit of the event. So I will definitely be doing some battleground streams um on this account to make sure that people have more options to farm me for the achievement. I would like to fight an Everest level serpent with Enchantress. Having done it, it's legitimately very fun, Harry. So yeah, I get you. It's so funny because like the first time there are ways to optimize it and get through it a bit faster, but the first time I did that fight and I felt like I kind of got it down. I was like, yeah, Enchantress is a serpent counter. Okay, let me see. How long did that take me? 1 minute and 55 seconds. I was like, okay, so not a battlegrounds option. Got it. Oh, yeah, that was a little sad. Um, but against like War Boss or larger, she feels amazing. Pablo, is your question about defenders versus release pace intended for me or for the chat? I want to make sure I understand. I can't imagine you lose much. I appreciate that. Hey Vega, how's it going? Momentarily forgot how clairvoyant works. Wow. Okay, telling on me. Oh, my capture card failed for a minute, didn't it? 1 second. Be right back. Okay, I should be audible again. All right, I have Ronan down for this rhino. May God have mercy on my soul. Yeah, you get a special title for beating Kabam employees during the anniversary season, Mr. B. Faced you one time in Uru and got my butt kicked. That's awesome frequency. not not specifically the butt kicking part, but the butt kicking convincing you to rank a champion. That kind of stuff I live for. The alt name actually came from a character in a third-party Dungeons and Dragons module called Humblewood, where Sir Riffin is a 3 foot tall owl knight. The first time I ever ran a campaign for Dungeons and Dragons was with Humblewood, and the party I was running for adored Sir Riffin, so he has a special place in my heart. It's also a music pun, and so that's nice. I thought I was gonna get blocked there. That special was a little bit late. Why did I do that? This is gonna hurt. Okay, just throw it immediately. Take the tantrum charges. Unfortunate. You threw off my groove. That block damage is starting to add up. Not enjoying. Alright, this just in. Ronin good. Dude, Humblewood is great. I really enjoyed that campaign. I actually ran it twice. Yes. Champions coming in at full health was very, very necessary for this quest. Why do all of them reduce bleed effects by 100% or more? So a couple different things. First off, with Negasonic, that was part of countering Bullseye, but hers is specifically ability accuracy, right? Which we like quite a bit because it answers Chioth. But that kind of plays into the next part, which is that Onslaught reducing bleeds by 150% was actually aimed a little bit at Path 3 Chitinous Thorns, where you have that extra 60% bleed potency. And so you need more than 100% reduction for your resistance to really mean anything. Onslaught also works against Chioth for a while because her charges give her extra bleed potency on top of 100%, and so you need more than 100% resistance to deal with it. So I guess the short answer is that there is a bit of an arms race with more than 100% bleed potency, and so that's why some recent mutants have been dealing with it directly. I get what you mean on theming. Onslaught, I think it's plenty easy. The psionic entity thing. Negasonic, it's a little tougher. I get it. I don't know. You have to do some diegetic work with, like, the flames make it hard for knives to hit her or something. I don't know. But sometimes we have to go a little bit outside of pure theming for meta reasons. Okay. Nope. Bye, Dre. We're not doing that here.
Alright, I really need to stay on top of this fight. Because he's definitely going to be at 100% health until he's not. No, you jerk. Don't kill me. Thank you. Okay. Alright, that is what I get for being a little bit greedy with my bleeds. But I'm pretty happy with 17 there. Thanks, John. We all know that feeling. These bleeds are really ticking away. This is a rank 3 6-star? I should have left him lower and taken Luke higher. Hopefully that's not prophetic. We'll see. The funny thing is, if this were a bigger Zemo, you could just block to cleanse the disorients and get a free route that way. That is definitely like the higher level skill expression here. Just to call it out. I am intentionally being a coward with my little 6-star. And that is why I'm not doing that. But you very much can. I got greedy there, tried to throw a medium so that I could immediately throw another special one, and I just was not really in tune with his animations. Thankfully, the second hit of the heavy did not crit. So we are now going to just back off and build to a special 3 and see how much extra attack it gets. Important note about power focus. Because the special 3 is calculated behind the scenes as a single hit, you don't want to throw it before you get to whatever the power focus threshold is, because he would have gained the boosted power from the special 3 if we'd thrown it below a bar. Obviously it killed, but just a note for being careful. Okay, Arcus time. Yeah. We're definitely going to be using Daunted again, Harry. That was not intended to be a one and done. I don't know that they'll all be indefinite. I think that is maybe a bit of a mistake in hindsight on Onslaught, but whatever. That's why I'm not intercepting more. Yeah, basically. I was playing it precious there. Like, being fancy and all is fine if it's something that you have to do to win the fight. If it's also the only way you're likely to lose the fight, why bother? Okay, come on, throw it. Hey, Hasama. Yeah, Count Nefaria is sweet. Yeah, I'll touch on that in a second, John. The short version is that most of it is just coding restrictions. Okay, that's going to sting a little bit. Ooh, we can't get rid of that one. It's unfortunate. We've been very lucky here. Oh, no, we're not lucky. It's because of dulled. That's why we're not getting any crits, and so that's why that last armor up is not going away. Okay, cool. So this gives us the Fury, gives us the Frozen Air, so that we should crack those armors again in a second, and then we can build back to another special too. Damage-wise, do I rate Nefaria similar to Photon? I think they're in roughly the same weight class. I think Photon's floor is probably higher. But I think Nefaria probably hits higher ceilings. And yeah, Jackson, people have told you that's not something I can really answer, but I will say, like, we've never tuned down an attacker so far. There are a couple that, with things that have happened since, maybe we would have gone back to, if that's how it worked, but, like, yeah, I'm not really concerned about anybody being rebalanced. I know that yeah, that probably sounds easy for me to say, but like my resources matter too. And I don't worry about rebalancing. Because if I rank somebody up for a purpose, any rebalancing that happens won't change that purpose, right? That's kind of how I feel about that. Sasquatch. Oh, John asked about special threes. Um, so like I said, it's complicated. Most of it has to do with the fact that during the special three, you're not rendering action normally. It goes into what we call like the vignette. Um, and so the actual damage calculations all happen in like one of a couple different spots. There's like on the special 3 activation, and then I think the actual special 3 hit is slightly different. And then there's like the special 3 finish. We try to be as consistent and logical as possible, but the short answer is just that special 3s are weird, and so some things do have to go in odd spots. Um, I know the most confusing one is normally power stings, but power stings basically have to happen after, because otherwise they could kill you before you use your special 3. So they have to happen after, but once you come out of the special 3 animation, the hit has occurred, and so you have given your opponent power. And so like I know that the what is it? I think it's node 39 in war where that's a usual bit of confusion. This guy's got a lot of health. Oh, come on, don't be like that. That's unfortunate, because now he's got 2 power gains. I'm gonna try and get just a little bit of regen out of this. Oh, Punk definitely has long form damage, Harry. I don't agree with that. Nope, not gonna get there. Okay, that's gonna sting. Never, ever try to dodge Arcus's special 2, you moron. Okay, come here. Thank you. At least we get that attack locked in case we have to revive. Sure would be helpful if you had some kind of actual nullify, eh, Sasquatch? I don't know if this is even worth it. But... No, Roz, it's not semantics. Risking it for the biscuit. Okay. Whew. Okay, giving this a second. I guess I'll just leave this here. Sorry, I'm about to eat for a minute, so I'm trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to put things. You know what? I'm just going to turn off the HD60, because that way I can actually unplug my iPad instead of worrying about where I set it down. Okay. Apologies if you hear the paper. So I'm going to be responding to chat, but there will be some pauses. Prowler might be more nukey for his damage rating. Oh, I see what... Okay, now I see where the Spider-Punk comment came from. Let's follow up on that one first. So, Spider-Punk does have long-form damage because he ramps up that crowd excitement, right? And generally, you're not going to be at 300 in a short fight. And so that's like... That's what I mean by that, is that because the crowd excitement affects how strong your ruptures are, including the instant rupture on your special 1, Punk does ramp up over the course of a fight and over the course of a quest. Not a huge amount, but it is significant. Yeah, the rebalances are work, Carrie. And like we will we meaning Kabam in this case, I'm obviously not on the rebalance team. We will do them if we think it's important for the game, right? We have before, we've mostly buffed characters. But if a character is fine and is just a little bit, like, not high, but just on the higher side and knocking on the door, that's generally something that is worth leaving, right? Like, I understand. I realize I'm risking something here by going back into the serpent bubble for a minute. But to touch on that danger zone, like I realize it feels a little bit different when it's an attacker versus a defender because people love to say, leave the strong attackers alone, it's fun. And to the extent that it isn't interfering with the game, we would like to. We do intend, like, some variation is on purpose. I don't personally think Juggernaut falls within that acceptable variation. But that is me speaking personally. I still think that's true for defenders. It's okay for some for there to be variation in defenders and for some to feel stronger. Because for some, like on the one hand, somebody has to be the strongest. That's always going to be how that works. But on the other hand, it just means that they drive that much more design space in the other class. There's plenty of things that we can do in Mystic, plenty of things we can do in Tech because of Serpent. So to touch on that, Pablo, I don't really think that there was a. I don't think that we should have changed the description. In that line, the weakness never stacked, which is how it reads, right? It doesn't say for each ISO degen, do this. It just says while the opponent's suffering from a degen, do this. There's no indication of scaling in the string. And if you look at a bunch of other effects, that is our accepted syntax. That's how that works. It's a binary on-off. It's not scaling. The weakness component has always worked that way. The ability accuracy didn't, which was definitely a mistake. And when the description says one thing and one half of the function works a particular way and the odd one out is the other half of the function, I think it is a lot more logical to change the function rather than the description. To say something weird like the weakness is flat but the ability accuracy is for each, like whatever. Yes, Spider-Punk does start with 150 in Battlegrounds. But Battlegrounds is not where, like, ramp characters shine. Like, that's not where Longform does. If you were to take Spider-Punk into something like Necropolis or just other testing, he wouldn't start with 150. No problem, Kurd. Thanks for hanging out. I think that's called a teaser doo-doo. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the dust thing, Harry. I shouted that out to engineers. Somebody is looking at it. I'm definitely going to poke it again next week, but something big happened there because it's not just dust. My suspicion is actually that some of the coding work that was done to make Beta Ray Bill work properly is what broke dust. So, we'll see. Yeah, Spider-Punk is incredible. We have a few high-ranked ones in our alliance that have been testing things in off-season for the upcoming war season. he's going to be fantastic. Basically, Dust isn't listening. A bunch of characters aren't properly listening for when a debuff is purified or cleansed type stuff, TC. So Dust is one of them, but Bishop, Jubilee, there's a number that seem to not be working properly at the moment. Okay, so that's the Trello board is a difficult discussion. It's possible that this might change in the future, but at the moment, the Trello board is not supposed to be where you see every single bug as we find it. And it's not supposed to have everything that then goes into the patch notes. That's not the goal. The goal of the Trello board is to try and prevent mole man type things. And hold on, I know where you're going. Not you necessarily, Harry, but chat. So just stay with me for a minute. The goal of the Trello board is to prevent mole man type situations where a bug is widely known and is left alone because we're not sure how to address it. Right? I think the most recent example of this was the Crossbones thing. Crossbones' overrun was broken, but there were some difficulties in fixing it. We had to wait on some tech. We did wait, but we put it up on the Trello board in the meantime and then got to it. Same thing with Zemo, right? We were like, okay, this is going to take new tech to fix, but put it up on the Trello board and then we'll get to it later. Obviously, there were some complexities to the Zemo thing. I'm not going to rehash that. But that's the point. The reason the Kingpin thing didn't fall under that is because we weren't aware of it and just waiting to change it. I was out of office that particular week, but like from what I could find, the designer who did fix it found out about it, went, wait, what? That's definitely not how that's supposed to work. The description clearly shows both of them as binary abilities, went and looked at the code, saw that one of them was, one of them wasn't, and fixed it. Like, within 24 hours of it being brought up. That's not what we use the Trello board for. Because that would be an incredible amount of extra work if... Excuse me, I'm going to burp it. Trying to avoid it. That would be an incredible amount of extra work for our like bug fixing process and or for our QA team to put everything up there. I realize the Kingpin bug is old, but it just wasn't on our radar. So there's no way that it could have been up on the Trello board. And trust me, I find that as deeply inconvenient as you probably find it frustrating. Yeah, the Taskmaster one was wild. So, some of you may know, I'm the one who collates the patch notes at the moment. In part because of some various problems with patch notes, including at least one that I was partially responsible for due to a misunderstanding of how the process worked. I now have some ownership over that process. And so like I do the dumb little flavor text jokes in the patch notes for the last few builds. And when I saw that one, the Taskmaster one, I was like, wait, what? That's not how that was supposed to work? But it's been okay. I double checked the Havoc matchup to make sure that he was still a counter if you wanted to take the first detonation. He is. And then I was like, all right, I guess we're shipping it. That one surprised me. The Trello board is definitely imperfect. I don't fully understand the syntax of the rest of your sentence there. Yes, Michael, that is intended. At least for now. Basically, what's going on there is it's the same as if you try and stagger the Serpent's death immunity, or when Buffet tries to remove Iron Man's armor ups, or when Masochism tries to remove the severe debuffs. The cooldown is listening for the actual purify or nullify attempt, right? And so when the attempt happens, when the code fires, it responds. That's different than when somebody is immune to nullify or purify, right? Because it actually does happen. The other person doesn't prevent the nullify or the purify. It's just that those buffs and debuffs aren't removed by them. And so the removal fires, the cooldown happens, or in the case of the cleanse, the actual cleanse effect is removed, but the debuff or buff sticks around. I totally get that it's a little bit weird. Take care, Aiden. Have a good one. So the purify happens and the debuffs say no thanks? Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Thank you, TC. I'm glad you appreciated that. I have fun with the patch notes. I don't know what's up with the Gallon thing, Black Hole, because it has been reported. I remember bringing it up because it had gotten lost. I think that one got lost too. Nobody's resisting changing it. I think it's been unlucky that it's like been brought up right as our bug fixing person changes over on tenure or whatever. And then even though we have a list to try and keep things going in between those handoffs, for some reason the Gallon fix just hasn't happened yet. I promise we're not trying to keep Gallon down. It will get fixed at some point. Oh, Atuma says consume or something. I basically the clarification there, as far as I understand it, is because the severe debuffs can't be removed, he consumes hydration instead of trying to purify them. Oh, the Gallon thing is that there's an order of operations error. Gallon's special to the last 3 hits apply 1 incinerate each, or 3 each if he's in Harvest. The problem is Harvest ends at the end of special animations. And so it's just an order of operations issue where the Harvest actually ends before his 3rd hit tries to apply incinerates. And so the first 2 go, yep, Harvest is active, apply 3. And then the 3rd one says, well, Harvest is inactive, so apply 1. And so you get 7 instead of 9. It's definitely fixable. I won't call it easy because you have to play around a couple complex things with how Harvest works, but it is fixable. Yeah, I mean, the Trello board isn't a gauge at all for whether something should be bug fixed or not, TC. When bugs happen, they should be fixed. And yeah, the Trello board isn't really a if it's not on there, it doesn't get fixed either. Like, that's not reasonable either. The Trello board is for, okay, we know about this, and it's not going to be in like the next patch notes. That's for when we throw it up. And I realize that that is a relatively limited space, but at the moment, that's all we're capable of promising. Yeah, onboarding new designers is incredibly difficult, Michael. You are not wrong. It's not that hard to stack two, John, but it is pretty difficult to hold on to two at 100% uptime, right? That's kind of, I think, what easy means. One second, real quick. I'm going to wash my hands and be right back. Because fries are greasy. Okay, I'm back. I got Popeyes, Mr. B. Would knowing about the kingpin bug 2 weeks in advance have made a difference? Yeah, that right there is a very good point, because obviously at the time of the mistake was not the time to die on this hill, but I feel that way about the Shock Earth glancing fix too, because like the change was going to happen one way or the other. Glancing was broken. The problem is like not really the timing, because it was going to happen one way or another. People would have been upset one way or another. It not having been in the patch notes, not having been public, that wasn't really the problem as far as its impact on the community. The problem was that we have a social contract with y'all, so to speak, that when things change, we put them in patch notes. And that was broken there, right? That's why that was a significant mea culpa. But I think you're right in the point that, like, a bit too much focus is placed on exactly when people know things. It's like, you're not going to change it. You're just going to be angry about it for a couple more weeks ahead of it actually happening. It's, yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. I haven't looked into the House of X thing, TC. It's Saturday. I don't look at the code on Saturdays for the most part, but I will follow up on Monday. How long does it take for a new designer to get familiar enough? That's going to depend on the designer, Akbar. Um, there are probably some people that never really get there, uh, or that might never really get there. You know what I mean? I will say that, let's see, I started. No, I'm thinking ahead right now. Okay, so Deathless She-Hulk was due in October. Y'all probably won't be able to actually play her for longer than that, but she's considered an October launch champion. Um, I am like done with her nowish. So, or sorry, Balance is basically done with her now. I was done with her a couple weeks ago. So that's roughly the timeline, is like the process ends about a month and a half or so before official release. And then we need 2.5 to 3 months before that. So, like, working back from when someone launches, you need like a good 4 or 5 months to like when we normally start work. And it used to be tighter. That 5 months is us intentionally trying to leave more room for problems. Um, so when I joined the team, it was about 4 months, meaning that working backwards from Absorbing Man launching in January, normally that work would have started in September, right? September, October, November, December. But I joined the team in July. So I basically had 2 months of onboarding as part of my like extra time. Um, Ideally, if we're hiring someone, that should be enough to get you up to speed for your first champion. But your first champion might not be very complex, right? You might be leaning more on the rest of the team for some of that stuff. That's all fine. I also had a pretty significant head start in already knowing the game. That's why Absorbing Man was more complex. um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. But it's definitely, it depends on the experience of the designer. It depends on their fluency in coding structures. It depends on how well they understand RPG systems in general. I imagine that somebody who comes over from like Magic the Gathering would probably be able to pick it up pretty quickly because they're used to those kinds of things. They would basically just need to learn the coding. Yeah, it's going to depend. No, Pablo, the reason for Shocker tickets was not because it was a change outside of Rebalance. That is misinformation that I have seen repeated way too often, including by members of the CCP. And I think that in at least one case, it is misinformation that's being spread because that's what that person wishes was the reason. But we were extremely explicit in the forum post after that glancing thing that it was not precedent for a change being made outside of Rebalance. It was because we messed up the patch notes. And that doesn't change just because somebody wishes it would. Do I feel any kind of compensation is valid? I don't know. That's not really my department. Like, the charitable part of me says, sure, do something. But I think that's the minority in myself, because the rest of me understands how much work it is for live ops to do just something in quotes. Um, the rest of me understands how many important things live ops isn't doing if they're doing that. The rest of me understands how dangerous it is in this community to set precedent for giving stuff in general, but especially for giving stuff that we were not planning on giving because someone threw a fit. It's kind of like when you're raising kids, right? You don't want to reward people throwing fits, because then they will just do that more. Like, that's, I think that's my biggest reservation, right? Is that I don't want to encourage the community being upset about us doing something that fell exactly within what we said was the way we were going to do things. It's tough. Oh, my knowledge of parenting is 100% theoretical, Mr. V. But I'm friends with a fair number of good parents, and I tried to pay attention to my own, so I'm just saying something there. Yeah, Harry, I've been very busy. I've been very, very busy. Like I said, our normal development cycle is 3 months. I signed up for December despite already having been assigned She-Hulk in October, and that itself was a bit of a stretch. But a little bit of insight. Deathless She-Hulk was actually a collaboration between myself and one of our QA analysts. And so I was able to offload a fair amount of the work. Like, don't worry, I double checked everything he did. But like, some of the actual implementing, some of the early sketches and stuff, like, I was able to kind of toss to him while I prepped other things. And so that definitely helped reduce the load there. And then that was going well enough that I agreed to, yeah, I'll just say it, help with one of the upcoming unannounced reworks. And that's the November thing. So we'll see. But take care, Pablo. Champ designers do not have assigned months. No, it just kind of works out that way. I actually, I have a third March champion, so I'll be March 3 years in a row, but that is purely coincidence. Hey, Mike, Obed, welcome. Thanks for coming over from Enzo. All of the Deathless work that way a little bit, Akbar, in that, like, internally, their due dates are when we add them to the build. So October is when you'll be able to see her under unowned champions, right? And those are intentionally set a little bit ahead of when you're going to own her, because then we go, okay, She-Hulk is ready in October. And so live ops, do your thing with how you're sourcing the pieces. Players will get her when they get her, if that makes sense. The person making Shothro is making the December champion. You're not wrong. I'm gonna shut up now. don't know why I threw the special one there. Whoops. Very sneaky use of heavy hitter by the AI there. Purgatory is so satisfying to play. Ouch! Beautiful. Okay. Obed, this is a 5-star. Yeah, I see that was brought up. She's doing her best, okay? She was my first 5-star and my first 5-star dupe on this account. That's okay, TC. I believe Deathless Guillotine did count as a December champion for that year, yes. As in, like, she was due in December. Very relevant to everything we were just talking about. Okay, let's see how iBomb does for this. It's okay, Obed. Is rank 4 6-star and rank 1 7-star good at minimum for Legendary Crucible? Well, I've already done several fights with less than that, so I'm going to say yes. Okay, come here. Anyone want to look up for me real quick? How many hits are in Mortal Abomination Special 1? Jerk. Really thought he was coming at me. Okay, I'm probably gonna revive here. Okay, fuck. Excuse me. Oh, because he had his gem. That's why. Okay, you can do this, DLL. You can come back. Dude! Sidesteps in this fight have been nuts. Thanks, y'all. I see the retracted messages. Okay, his gem is giving me fits, but I need to pay attention. Okay, I-Bomb can do this. Just fine. Oh, I need to boost again, too. That's totally why I died. Juggernaut. Really showing off everything that can go wrong with the AI. Okay. Take care, Harry. Hey, dude, how's it going? No! Really thought that I... Yeah, XL is some of it. Most of it is me being very stupid several times in the first run. Juggernaut. Jesus. No, he caught me there. That one was iBomb's terrible dashback distance. No, it wasn't. I was early. I was early. And just when I was starting to be okay with 1 revive for using a rank 1 6-star. 2 revives it is. Hopefully I haven't spoken too soon on that, but we'll see. Hey, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. For me, it's important to stay sane. Otherwise, I just get angrier. Alright, Nimrod. Yeah, there are, in general, extra-large champions dash back further, but not uniformly. Because, like, Warlock is XL, but has a very short dash back distance. Shocker at low gravity settings. Dude, that guy tilts me. That's easy. Yeah, shocker animations are something. Yeah, Sinister's gonna be fun for sure. Good lord, this combat power rate. Something to call out, a lot of champions that go unstoppable when struck do it intentionally very early. Whoops. He caught me there with that dash back. Weapon X does not. Meaning that he gains a stack when struck, and that causes his Berserker Rage. But the Unstoppable comes online late. This means that you can safely hit into him. There he is, catching me on an intercept attempt, so I think we're going to be a little bit more careful going forward here. You just have to be counting to 25 properly. There's finally the heavy. Alright, come on, buddy. What he thought I said was, hit me with your medium attack as I'm coming out of the invulnerability frames from my dashback animation. He was trying to be helpful. Whew. Yeah, he does, MSD. He absolutely does. A fight like this is exactly why I ranked him on this account. Like, I'm not prioritizing him. I took Penny further because I find her more fun to play, and that's kind of the spirit of what I'm doing here. But I was like, I need to have Nimrod at a somewhat serviceable rank because it's just going to come up. And it did. Thanks, so bad. Alright, Crossbones. I definitely don't think it's impossible that we'll see other rarities of Labtron. I do hope that by the time somebody... Oh, dang it! Oh well. By the time somebody gets around to convincing us to release him as a higher rarity, that we'll have had time to rework him. I do think that would be cool. Dang it. That was on me. Oh, I forgot about this part. I'm scared. What? Yep. Wait for the medium to land. Maybe that was the problem, that I threw a light instead of a medium, and that's why I canceled out of it. Or medium instead of a light. I don't know. Pause. Row. Row. Wait. Wait. That's maybe not a joke for everybody, but... When I said wait, I heard those, like, cross guards that tell you to wait before crossing at streets. Is a bad joke. Maybe I should have just gone to the special 3 there to make sure that we held on to enough Furies, but I am taking the slow and steady approach here. The end is within sight. Whew. Hey, darkness. He looks anchovies on pizza. Anchovies are just a poor man's black olives. That's my hot take for the day, and I mean hot because I really haven't examined it. Nah, black olives on pizza are great, Obed. It matters what other condiments that you put down, but I think black olives or calamatas, which I know are close but not quite the same, really add to certain kinds of pizza. My go-to trio of pizza toppings is pepperoni, mushrooms, and black olives. Okay. If you're eating them alone, I agree with you, right? Like if you're setting out a charcuterie board and you put like pizza black olives on it, I'm gonna side-eye you. You want your like Castelvetranos and stuff, right? But on pizza, I think they serve their purpose very well. Oh, what am I doing? I need a dex. Run forward. Thank you. Really important when doing this fight with Sunspot to get that Purify trigger. Come here. He's like, what if I just let all of them expire? How about that? This is gonna take a while because now we have to get to a special 3, but that's it. I've never really been a martini guy, I have to admit. I find Negroni variations a lot more interesting than the various martini Manhattans. Good ones, don't get me wrong. I like a little more flavor and a little less straight booze. In my mixed drinks. If I want liquor, I'll just drink liquor. I've had corn on pizza and it's been really good, but it is not something that I just throw on. Anchovies are great if I don't know anchovies are there. That makes sense to me, because, I mean, that's kind of like in a salad, right? And just adding the slightly interesting source of salt. That's funny. That's funny, John. Olives are a food I can understand not liking. Yeah, I completely agree. Um, let's see. What does Namor's description say? Because the thing is that Namor's old enough that, like, the description isn't necessarily law the same way. I realize that is very frustrating to y'all because we are so literal with our descriptions nowadays and so careful about it that when we say, they're old, their description's weird, I get that that's frustrating and I'm sorry in advance. It's also very frustrating to us to be held accountable for the mistakes of people who no longer work here. But let's see. Whenever a bleed or stun debuff fails to apply due to immunity or chance, or whenever the opponent purifies a debuff. So the purifies a debuff, ideally, if that string were written right now, that would mean 1 outrage per debuff. But that is a that's an area of the text that we haven't been super disciplined about. Because the alternative is saying when the opponent purifies 1 or more debuffs, that's for when it just happens once per frame, right? But that templating is more from like Magic the Gathering, where that kind of stuff matters a lot, and less so in our game, where it's starting to matter more, but it's kind of been a build. Yeah. I don't really have a better answer for that. Right, this is going to be another very long one. No problem. Oh, I just realized why the game sound was too loud, because I still had the desktop on. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully this is better. That was 100% my fault. I was too slow. Come on, buddy. It'd be really nice if he had some source of healing that I could pull from here, but that's okay. This should do it. Scorpion's good. How much longer will I be streaming for? I don't know. I have an appointment in an hour, so probably not that much longer. Let's see, how far are we? Yeah, this is definitely at least one more full stream on this path, plus the other. I mean, part of that was because I ate and we had discussions. Let me see if I can get through the next one with Torch. I think Claire would be too slow for Serpent and Battlegrounds regardless, right? Like, either she relies on crits, which is a problem because crit resistance, or she relies on burst damage, which is a problem because Serpent. Oh, I am so going to get hit here. You know what? I apologize for this. I'm going to be right back. I have to take this call. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Do I want to design an act boss? Yeah, I do want to do one of the unique bosses. I actually kind of wanted to do the X-23 one for this next act. Like, the designer that was on it instead did a really fantastic job. I think he nailed it. Um, but that was one I was looking at, and it just didn't line. It would have been that or Patriot, and Patriot mattered a lot to me. So, not this time.
Yeah, eat Scarlet Witch. On top of everything else that happens, here's some poisons, just randomly. Don't worry, they're potent.
I enjoy reverse controls unironically. I understand why. It's satisfying to nail, for sure. Alright, we got our one torch fight in. That's right. It's now encroaching root. Dumb joke and obviously doesn't work for legal reasons, but I think it would have been really funny if Ice Phoenix had been called Articuno. Ouch. Okay, that really stung. She did not like the Articuno joke. No! I know I was a little bit late. But if the game were more responsive, I would have texted anyway. No, it was encroaching stun on the original fight. I legitimately think it was probably a mistake when somebody copied it over. Because it's the only node that changed. What node am I forgetting? Why are we gaining so little power? Is it power axis? It's probably power axis. Yeah, it definitely is. Okay, maybe we just lean into it. Use the shocks. Those armor breaks were very slow. And it was getting us rooted a lot. Stupid. Me stupid. I find Iceman's animations up close very confusing, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, hopefully we can get back into our rhythm here. Root, Craven was the first champion with Root. He was not the first instance of Root. It showed up in a side quest before then. I think we may have to revive one more time. I've just blocked too much. And she's been just a little bit too... Grr. Ish MSD. It's not the actual root like type, right? It's not a passive or a debuff. I say that not to be pedantic, but because if anything ever like broke root, it wouldn't touch Vox. Same thing with Inexorable. Okay, Warlock. Alright, I'm gonna go until my boosts run out. Which might be the rest of this fight. This is a serious throwback for me because I did this on my main account with a 7-star rank 2 Mysterio, so I'm very comfortable with it. But I did that as a throwback to when I first fought Gwenperion on my main years ago with a 6-star rank 2 Mysterio. Oops. Too close. Okay. Actually, Sandman does lock himself easy. He just does it invisibly. To do his grapple playstyle, it was necessary to lock both. If I'm remembering correctly. It is not easy because it doesn't put the root icon on the screen. He doesn't refer to it as a root. No, you don't. You know what would be nice here would be a vision relic. I might even have one, but whatever. This account has far too few relics for that to really be a concern here. What exactly do you mean by that frequency? Woo! That was entirely too close. Thank you, Gwenpool, for throwing a heavy instead of the special 2 into my face. That definitely would have cut this run short. Forgot about the stun removal as it ticks over. It truly is insane that rank 1 6-stars only have 17% less combat power than maxed out ones, because the difference feels so much more. Oh, the version of Sandman that had the same ceiling but that ramped faster and so was a Battlegrounds nuke on top of all the utility and immunities he had. Yes, that. I remember. It would indeed have been insane, but I think the game is probably healthier for it long term that he didn't pop off quite that quick. There's the same number of every class, yeah. Maybe you're forgetting Miss Marvel? No! I was like, oh, just Dex one more time, just Dex one more time. Rip. I could tell I was just losing concentration. I was looking up at the chat more. I just didn't want to be here doing this. uh, it is what it is. Of course, I died to the easiest thing in the fight, the special animations. God. If only Invisible Woman had been a solo on top of being that long easy. That's... Is there anything else you can die to on this fight? Yeah, a surprise special, right? Like, that's more what I mean. Like, I narrowly avoided several stun purifies into heavies last time, but the very end of the special animation should never be what you die to. Okay, let's bring in Domino. And this will be the last one for now. Oh, the fight would be toxic if the defender had a special 3. That sounds awful. At least we got some real bleeds on that last one. Does Gwenperion say she purifies debuffs or removes them? Because if it says removal, then leader won't work. I love the rest of that idea. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't keep track of 6-star features anymore. Sorry, 7. Okay. This is gonna stink so much, but I have nobody else here. Yep. Alright, I'm gonna do this later. But that's our next fight. We are making it through this. I'm working for it, but this doesn't feel like I don't regret this. Yes, I have made a plan. I've been working off of this. We went through it at the start. The reds are because I have 2 copies of Maw and 2 copies of Gore at a usable level. But yeah, we are currently at Invisible Woman. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 more fights when I come back. But this is fight number 20, I think. Yeah. So we've made progress. That's more than half. And yeah, no roadblocks. Just me losing focus and doing dumb things. Which I will take for punching up this hard. Says debuffs are removed. Yeah, then I don't think leader works for Gwenperion, unfortunately. Alright. Take care, everyone. Yeah, appreciate y'all hanging out. This was fun, and I will see you soon. Later, all.